Hi, everybody. This is Chris with Readiness Rewired. And hey, Al, are you on?
I am, and I'm ready to go, Chris.
I think Mike is out today for this session, so it's you and I, but we've got a special guest. Do you want to kick it off to her?
We do. With us today is Kristi. Kristi is the Executive Director of AHEPP, which is the Association for Healthcare Emergency Preparedness Partners. Now, Kristi, we're so glad to have you with us because we got a lot of things to talk about today, and we're going to really try to focus on the certification process that AHEPP has, which I think is really, really valuable.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, you guys. This is great. We've really been enjoying getting this certification program off the ground and learning a ton, as I always do with everything. But it's been fun, and I think it's definitely helping professionalize this field.
And it's a work in progress, right? You guys have a product
hmm
out there, but it's constantly being updated and revised. And I think Al and I wanted to see in this kind of a hot wash or shorter session if we can just get the basics, the nuts and bolts, especially for people that maybe are newer to AHAP or are still kind of maybe they're just out there looking for certification and professional development. So um, this certification that you have, it's not a licensure, it's a certification, and there's 3 levels to it. Can you tell us just a little bit about, because I know there's a lot online if people do some digging about the details, but generally, what is this?
Well, so we decided as an organization. And when I say organization, some organizations are deciding as an organization that it's just the leadership. Um, when we say organization with AHEPP, we really talk to our members. It's not just a few people in a room that has a closed door. We really have a lot of conversations with professionals that are really out there in these fields, in the job, doing the job, and make sure that what we want to do really hits the mark of what the need is out there, because nobody wants to do something that nobody needs. So after having quite a bit of conversation with many of the members that have been long time involved with AHEP, we decided to put together the certification program, really intended to professionalize the field and allow for people to have something that says, yes, I have been in this field with enough knowledge that I should be a competent healthcare emergency manager at some level. And so that's really what the intent was with the certification. Before we created the certification, because we wanted to do this in the right order, we actually had a large group of membership that put together what we called the professional standards of healthcare emergency management, because it was recognized by our audience and our membership that there's a lot of standards for emergency management in general. There's a lot of standards for healthcare in general. Joint Commission standardizes the organization and what the requirements are for the organization itself, but there really isn't a body of knowledge that's expected of the actual healthcare emergency preparedness professional. And so that's really what we set out to do with those professional standards, is to create the competencies that we expect from individuals in this role. And when I say expect, I mean expect so that they can help protect their healthcare patients, family members, organization, with the work that they do from day to day as a healthcare emergency manager. So the certification is fully based off of the professional standards. Which actually, as you mentioned, it's a work in progress. Everything is a work in progress. I don't think I've known anybody that's gotten into the emergency preparedness field and thought, oh, I'm gonna stay in this same lane for the rest of my career. No, emergency management is, not for the people that want everything to stay stagnant. It is always changing. It's part of the reason I love this field. So we just revamped the professional standards, I guess, if you will. So if you looked at it, I don't know, 6 months ago, the professional standards document, it would look different today. It's on our website. Not completely different, but changed some competencies, updated some pieces of it to make it reflect some of the ways that our world is changing, as it is ever changing. Business continuity is a big deal right now. Yeah, it just is. So, I mean, that's kind of what we were trying to do with the professional standards update. And so the certification will come next. We're going to update the certification questions to reflect some of the edits that we did within the professional standards. So they're all mapped to each other. So if you know the AHEPP professional standards, you probably can pass the exam. And when I say know the professional standards, you don't just know what they are, you know how to do the deep dive into what that body of knowledge means,
how you
and
arrived
understand how you use it. Yes.
Yeah, excellent. And so, and I think we want to back up for a second and say, because Al and I come from hospital-oriented healthcare, if you will, but this is also for public health, for clinics. It's for anybody. Is that right? That's in a emergency preparedness position.
Yeah, I mean, we really try to apply it to all avenues of healthcare, not just hospital. There are some things that lean heavily towards hospital, just the nature of healthcare emergency management. A lot of the advances in healthcare EM kind of start in the hospital because, to be perfectly honest, the accreditation agencies require it first in the hospital, and then they start dabbling into clinic and long-term care. And so unfortunately, the poor hospital folks are the guinea pigs with all of these requirements, and they're the ones that start with that knowledge. So, we are really, the intent is for it to be applicable, that anybody is in a healthcare field. Public health, I would say that one is maybe a further reach than, clinic, long-term care, visiting nurses, things like that, because we do really lean heavily towards healthcare and not as much towards public health.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And people could review the standards and, everything that goes into the preparation for this to understand if this aligns closely with where they're at or where they want to be, and so forth. And so, you have, again, if I understand this right, this is like a standalone exam that you apply for, prepare for, and then you take. Is that right? And then you can retake it if you're not successful.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And so we structured it with a lot of input, again, from our members. And we structured it in a way that we didn't want anybody to submit the money that it costs to really get their certification until they actually pass the exam, because this is not just a pass the exam, you're certified kind of certification. This is a pass the exam and then move on to step 2, where you submit materials that show that you actually have the expertise in the field that we expect of you. And so that's where the different levels come in. So the first step is taking the exam. And yes, you can take the exam, and if you don't pass, you can sign up for the next one. We offer it twice a year. So it's not always available, but it is twice a year in August and February. Once a year, we offer it as a pen to paper exam if you want to, at the actual annual conference. So that's something that, for those those of you like me that really don't like that digital exam situation, you can actually take it on paper at the conference. But I will tell you that I would say 90%. If I had to, I don't have the actual numbers, but if I had to guess, I would say 90 to 95% of individuals take it online. They'd rather do the electronic version of the test. So it is a timed exam. You take the exam, and it should tell you whether or not you pass or fail. Well, it can. I think that we don't have it structured to immediately give you those results back, because we just want to make sure that the questions are correct. We just don't trust that all of the systems are going to work as planned always. We want to just make sure that we do a double check before we tell somebody whether or not they've least important. If they passed, great, we're
Right.
happy for them, but we don't want to tell somebody that they didn't pass and then realize, oh, that question wasn't a good question, or so we do
Yeah.
a thorough review of our all of our questions, and the pass rates of each question, to make sure that those questions are really valid before we actually give anybody a result on that.
Yeah.
Valid and clear, so they don't
Mhm.
misinterpret the question.
Yeah.
So Kristi, you talked about, and Chris mentioned the three levels: the basic, then you go into the professional level, then you go into the mastery level. And I was reading through some of the information. So you're saying, is there a test for not only the basic, but when you go up to the professional level? I looked at some of the requirements. Is there another test to validate, or that's just more one-on-one work?
Life experience and all. Yeah.
Yep. It's more work. In the sense of life experience and your
Yeah.
actual job, and more work to submit the application. And to be perfectly honest, and transparent, the fees are reflective of that too. The more materials that you have to submit for us to review,
Yep.
it does cost a little bit more, because it costs a little bit more on our end of time and energy to put that together and get that reviewed. So so there's the professional and mastery level. The differences are the amount of years of experience you have.
Mhm.
The expectation is that you have a way to prove that via a resume, a letter from your manager, something that tells us that it's not just you telling me that you have 10 years of experience, but somebody else validates that as well. And then the additional expertise that we require are exercise documents that show that you know how to do exercises, you know how to run and write certain types of exercise, because we all know that the response and the exercise is really the bread and butter of healthcare emergency management. That's what we do. I suppose we could ask you to submit a plan that you wrote, but at this point in this field, there's so many jobs you walk into, all the plans are already written.
Yeah.
At this point, it's reviewing plans, and always testing plans. And so that's kind of where we came to exercise being the focus on the submission of the body of knowledge that you have in your pocket. And then when you jump up to the mastery level, the expectation is not only that experience and that knowledge of how to, but also the expectation is that who are you training to be the next individual that's going to be the expert? So your professional contribution to the field is really important. And, I know that that's kind of a high expectation, that we hold our people to a higher standard, because we do expect them to be giving back to the field. But we have so much turnover, and we have a lot of folks that are to the point where they're ready to get to the back end of their career. And who do we hand this to? We need to hand this to the people that we've taught how to do this, because our knowledge and our experience that we've learned over the past 20, 30, 40 years in our careers needs to be handed down to somebody. We can't just leave and say, hey, I'm going to a beach in Hawaii for the rest of my career. Good luck. You know, we need to
Wow.
we need to hand that knowledge to somebody. And so that's really what we really expect of the mastery level, is that those folks are not only, you know, improving themselves, but improving others.
Wow. It's a really comprehensive but holistic approach that you guys have. And um, did I understand that right? That you take a test at each level, or you take a test
Just one.
and then your
Yep.
progression is professional growth and development? Is that right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's why I
That's
was
correct.
curious, and
Just
and
one test.
that's why I'm excited about this podcast, because I'm hoping that we can get more and more people to listen to this podcast and understand, because you just clarified a lot of stuff for me where I went, okay, the professional level, I have to do this. And I was reading through the documents and seeing what I had to do, and I looked at all the information. And then the mastery level, I looked and went, oh, wow, this is, submitting 3 written certification exam questions. You're helping develop for the future. You conduct a presentation, or you look at some of the publication type requirement or things. And I thought, if I was younger, I would love to tackle into this. Chris and I and Mike are all 3 retired now. Not that we can't go on and do some other things, but years ago, when I was in as emergency preparedness coordinator, I looked for things that would help me develop myself, because there's nobody else in the hospital around really that is going to help you. And Chris and I have taken other certifications. We took one together here a few years ago, and they're okay. But I always thought, gosh, this was good. It had good information in it. It was pretty easy to pass, because some were community open book type things, and others. When I looked at this certification, my first thing was fear, because it's like, holy man, this is asking a lot. But like we say, let's not bite the elephant, or let's not eat the elephant all at once. Let's take it a bite at a time. And as you go through that basic and look at the things, there's a lot of prerequisites you have to do, and it's okay. I mean, now I look at this and think, this certification really means something behind my name, that I can, and then to be an AHEPP member and to participate with the other members in there to kind of collaborate, because that's what emergency preparedness needs to understand, is it's all collaboration with your partners.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it's not a random test, right? I mean, you list, and all the sources are free. So if people want to prepare, they want to review, refresh, all the material is there. I think you guys are looking at, or in the process of developing, a study guide that gives people even more guidance in preparation for the test. And from what I saw, the resources are broad-based. It's not one agency or organization. So there's a lot of thought and a lot of work that's gone into to creating this, and then keeping it as a living, breathing kind of process. Does that sound right? Like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We really want this to be something that is meaningful. Um, we never intended it to make somebody fearful, but we do want it to be meaningful, and we want it to be a huge accomplishment for you in your career to become certified through AHEPP. And that's part of the reason we actually added the levels. There was some consideration put into, do we just do one level of certification? You're either certified or you're not. And we realized quickly that there is a lot of people new to the field. There's a lot of people coming into it. And we don't want to discredit that they have experience and knowledge at their level that's valuable. We want that to be recognized as well. But we also want to recognize those that have been in this even longer and have contributed to this field over the past however many years that they've been in it. I mean, we all know that a lot of the folks that started in this career after 9/11. That's what brought them to this career. And so, we want to recognize that, and we want to recognize their knowledge, experience. bringing up those certification exam questions. We want you to write those certification exam. Not saying you're gonna see them on the next exam, but we want you to get a chance to write those, and we review those, and we're going to determine if those are, they might be repetitive, they might be something, but we want you to put some thought process into what you think should be on the exam, because if you're at that level of mastery level, then we value your knowledge and your experience enough that we think that you should help write this exam. It's not just us. I certainly don't have the knowledge and experience to be able to solely create a certification. So, I mean, this is what's really cool about AHEPP. The collaboration is just phenomenal amongst every part of AHEPP, and everything that we do. We collaborate always. And that does kind of lead me to discuss some of the recertification, if you guys are okay with me going on to
Absolutely.
recertification.
Sure. Yeah.
We have enough folks that certified long enough ago that they're ready to reach out and get going on their recertification. And because this was created through basically a volunteer committee, we have to piece this slowly together because it's, it takes time, and everybody has a full-time job, and we want to make sure that we get it right. So even the recertification has been a work in progress. Right now we're in pilot phase, which is exciting for us. So we're getting really, really close. And the folks that actually piloted the original certification exam are now ready for recert, and excited to be our guinea pigs once again. And so the recertification is really going to require different levels of continuing education points, or CEPs, for each level of certification. So the basic level will require 20 per 2 years. The professional level will require 40 per 2 years, and the mastery level is going to require 60 CEPs for every 2 years, which seems daunting and a lot. But we've structured it very similarly to the way that we structured the certification levels. So the basic level, we expect you to be continuing to gain knowledge because you're early in your career. We want your CEPs, certification education points, to come from the education that you're getting. You're going to conferences, you're learning on webinars. We have it set up that, those things count towards your recertification at the basic level. Well, and they count towards recertification at all the levels. But when you jump into the professional level and the mastery level, you can only count up to 20 CEPs for your recertification of that would be continuing education. So if you're in the professional grouping, you would have to find another 20 CEPs from professional contributions.
And I think, Chris, something just happened because we lost Kristi right in the middle.
Did I lose
that
you
was
guys?
really interesting, and I hope we get her back here. I think this is a good point to tell our viewers too that we'll include some contact information so you can reach out to Kristi and AHEPP and learn more. They have two websites. There is AHEPP's original website for the organization, again, the Association for Healthcare Emergency Preparedness Professionals, and then they also have a website specifically to the test, to the certification process, that lists all the preparatory help that you might want to reach out for, as well as some of the test support items and things like that.
Yeah, and what impressed me when I looked at all that stuff was Kristi mentioned, the amount of work that went into it to develop those, and the thought process to make it a stepped approach to get better and better and better, which is what we're all looking for. I was very impressed. I was going to ask Kristi, and Chris, you and I can talk about it here if she's not able to join us back again. She might have had some technical or connectivity issue, but in a lot of the the individual studies that we do for FEMA, they're great. They have a lot of great information, but I've always said, a person who's been in the field for 30 years, they took the IS 100, 200, 700, 300, 400 long ago, and there's no recertification, there's no
Yeah.
validation
Yeah.
because, and I went back when I was still working, I went back and thought, maybe it's not necessary. Well, I went back into one of the more difficult classes and just took the test without all the other information, and I didn't pass. Kristi, we were just talking about recertification. I love that idea because to make sure that you stay in tune with what's going on and move ahead,
She's
moving
back.
in your. Yeah, she is back. Yeah, she is back. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Kristi,
something.
in your absence, sorry to walk over you there, Al, but we just talked
No,
about
okay.
how, we were just kind of recapping where you were at. You just were talking about the recertification process. So it's a dynamic, ongoing. It's not retesting, as I understand it. It's just reviewing kind of a portfolio of experiences, structured experiences, either contributions you've made or re-evaluations or additions. And Al was mentioning, FEMA has a lot of those that are one-time only kind of courses, but I'm assuming that yours is growth oriented, right?
Yeah. And I apologize. I don't know what happened, but everything just shut down for me. But yeah, we as you get in those upper levels, we expect you to contribute in ways that, would advance the career like we talked about before. So committee participation in any committee gives you CE points. Being a mentor gives you CE points. Writing an article, doing presentations, writing a class, doing, there are so many ways that you can get continuing education points that aren't related to just learning, and you're contributing to the field in manners that really, showcase your expertise and help the field learn your knowledge. So that's kind of what we do with AHEPP in general, though. We learn from each other in everything we do. And so we just really brought that into our certification and recertification process as well.
And that
phenomenal. Yeah.
I was going to say, and that information with other people looking at it, sometimes I said the information is daunting, when you look at it, but now that you clarify a few things, it's like, wow, that makes sense. And I, as a new person sitting out there somewhere, I'm reading this and thinking, I think I can do this now. It's not so scary, because you're supported each way. And I know as an AHEPP member, and I've gone to your national conference and stuff before, there's just so many people out there willing to help, willing to give their time and effort. And obviously, AHEP's been around since 2014, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this emergency management certification is about 2024, only a year and a half, a couple years old.
Yep.
And then the work ahead of that to get ready to set that first exam and all of that, interesting. But yeah, now I hope that people look and go, you know what? I don't have to eat that elephant all at once. As I mentioned before, I can take a bite here. And if I don't pass it in, this spring, I'll take it in the fall or whatever the case may be. And maybe get people to come to the national conference as well.
Yep.
Yeah. And, one thing I wanted to mention, since it's on the top of my mind, as you mentioned that, and people being a little intimidated by the exam. One of the things that our committee has recognized is that it can be a little intimidating. And what better way to take care of that intimidation but to let people that have already gotten their mastery level certification or their professional level certification, let those folks mentor the folks that are trying to get certified, and they get their CE points for doing that mentoring to help the rest of them get certified. And so we are setting that program up as well. So we have a mentoring program that's active within AHEPP, but we are actually in the process of revamping that program to make sure that it's very highlighted and more people use it, because we really want to hone in on mentoring those that need that additional help, knowledge, maybe just a cheerleader. I think that mentoring comes in different packages, and I think especially with certification focused mentorship, it could be just somebody that is sitting by their side, checking in once a month saying, hey, did you do some of this reading yet? Because this is what you have to do to stay on track so that you're ready for that test in August.
Well,
So
and not only,
that's what we're going to work on this year,
yeah,
actually.
and
Awesome.
I love that mentoring thing. Not only did you read the article, but do you have any questions? Were you confused? Can I help you out? That's the
Mhm.
mentoring part, and I love that, because now hopefully this certification can start spreading its wings more and more, because you have had several people pass at least the basic. I don't know if you keep track of basic versus professional versus mastery, and if you have some people up at that mastery level yet.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have quite a few at the mastery level, and they're ready to mentor.
Wow.
So yeah, we have folks that are actually not only have passed and been certified at the mastery level, but they're just about ready to recertify at that mastery
Yeah.
level. And it's incredible to see folks that are. You don't have to be a member to be certified, an AHEP member to be certified. You can be certified regardless, but there is a little bit of a benefit to being an AHEP member when it comes to tracking some of your continuing education, because a lot of the things that AHEP, the programming that AHEP does, allows you to track it within your member account. So there's a transcript process
Oh,
that you can just upload to the recertification application, and you'll be able to, pretty quickly and easily show that you have what you need to recertify. So there's that benefit there of being an AHEP member, that just the software itself helps a little bit with the process. But I think that is just one of those things that we need to keep pushing forward, is mentoring each other, helping each other out, continuing to educate. All of those folks that we have present at webinars, if they want to submit that as continuing education points for their recertification, that would be applicable. And if you present for other organizations, that also is applicable. The only difference is that we would need a little bit more documentation, because we're not, personally involved in it. So, but yeah, I mean, what we do at AHEP is collaborate and we mentor, and that's the whole purpose of this organization. So, that's
awesome.
that's what we
Hey,
focus on.
let's, for the sake of time, let's wrap this up by maybe pointing out one. Join AHEP if you can. It's a great organization, has lots of opportunities to network and learn. And then
Agree.
two, Kristi, for people that want to learn more, you have a website just for accreditation, and you have a website for the association. So either way, they could go there to passively learn, or can they reach out to you, contact you or
Oh,
somebody else? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, AHEP at ahep.org is the email address that if you have just general questions for anybody at AHEP to answer, that's the email address that you can reach out to. If you want to get personally in touch with me, my email address is ksanger at ahep.org. But before you do that, I encourage you to go to the AHEP website, just ahep.org. Not .com, ahep.org, and because we are a nonprofit 501c3,
And
and that has a lot of information on it regarding. Oh, go ahead. Were you
no, I was
starting
going to
to
say,
talk?
we'll put that
Oh,
on the
maybe not.
description of this episode. Yeah, we'll
Yep.
put it
Oh,
on the
excellent.
description of the episode, and that'll be
But
a good link.
Okay. So when you get to ahep.org, you can actually click on the certification tab. It'll bring you to that certification website. And if you click on the tab that is the annual conference, it will bring you to the annual conference website. So although we have multiple websites within AHEPP, all you have to do is ahep.org and you'll get to everything you need.
All right, very good. And I don't know why now we've lost Chris, who is our host. So I'm hoping Chris can jump back on. But Kristi, we'll end it for now. AHEPP, remember, is AHEPP. And wow, what a great certification program. We thank you for coming on with us